Okay, everybody, a quick lesson on rounding. Okay, rounding seems like an easy thing, but it always seems to give a lot of the sixth graders troubles. Um, and it's very important to learn how to round because most of math in real life is estimating, and we estimate when we need an answer that's close, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Most of your life in math class, we want the answer, the perfect answer. Well, most of your real life math, you just got to be close. You want to make sure that you're not getting ripped off, that you're getting somewhere to the close amount of change, and the cashier at the supermarket is ringing up the right prices. It said it was on sale. So you're estimating. You want to make sure you don't run out of gas, things like that. You're estimating a lot. So here we are. We want to make it easier. Remind yourself that if estimating and rounding is hard for you, your job is to make it easier. Okay? Very few times in life, and especially in school, is your teacher saying, "No, don't work so hard." Okay? This is one of those times. Embrace that. Remind yourself that you're supposed to make this problem easy. If you didn't make it easy, you probably didn't do it right. So it'd be cool to learn how to do it right because then your life's easier, right? So here we are. Why are we rounding? To make it easier, and we're usually doing it so we can estimate. And reminder, most math in real life is estimating. So here's an example. If Frank owes Ella $37.32, but Frank is rolling in it right now. He's got a big old wad of cash, but all he has is $10 bills. Okay, how many $10 bills should he give her if he owes her $37? He can't give her the exact amount, but he's got to give her some money. He owes her, right? What would be the most fair? Well, the first thing we do is we look at that number and try to figure out what is this closest to for the amount of money he has. Well, he has $10 bills, so he has 10. He can have 20. He can have 30. He can have 40. He can have 50. You guys count by tens, right? These are our choices, and so on up until the amount of money he has. But this is far enough because we know that 30 is smaller than that number and $40 is bigger than that number. Well, what's the most fair? Well, Ella says, give me 40, and Frank's probably saying, I want to give her 30, right? What's the most fair, though? Well, what is that? That's trying to figure out what is that closest to. Is it closest to 30 or 40? And how do we decide that? Okay? Well, what is exactly halfway between 30 and 40? Exactly halfway between 30 and 40. If you had a number line and 30 was here and 40 was here, right? What would be right in the middle? Well, it'd be 35, huh? So anything bigger than 35 is going to be closer to 40, and anything smaller than 35 will be closer to 30, right? Well, what if it's right in the middle? What do we do? We got to decide. So here's something for you. That's 35, and this number right there, that could be $35 and 1 penny. As soon as I add 1 penny to that $35, it's now closer to 40, right? So what we've decided to do is if it's right in the middle, we're going to round up because there might be a penny later, and we don't want to look at all the digits past that middle, right? So that's why when you've heard if it's a 5 or bigger, you go up. Okay. Now, will this ever round down to 20? No. Will it ever round up to 50? No. Okay. So my only choices are going to be 30 or 40. As soon as I know my place value, and that's the tens place because all he has is $10 bills, I know it's either going to be this or that, right? Of the infinite choices of numbers, once you find the place value, if you get good at that, you've narrowed it down to two choices. You got a 50-50 chance of getting it right. All right? So I have some cryptic codes when I show kids how to do estimating and rounding, right? The cryptic steps. What do you do first? Well, that's what you do first. That's your first step. What do you do next? After you do that first step, do this. What does that mean? Third step, This is getting weird, right? Y PV equals plus 1 in PV equals P. What does all this mean? Okay, this is what it means. That PV has a line under it. What could the PV stand for? Place value. So your first step is to go find that place and underline it. So we had $37 and what was it, 32 cents? 32 cents. But Frank only has $10 bills. So I'm rounding to the nearest 10. Now, once I do that, again, there's two choices in answer. Either that place value stays the same and stays as a 3, or it goes up by 1 and turns into a 4. It never goes down to a 2 and it never goes up to a 5. Either it stays the same or it gets bigger by 1. Now, everything to the right of that place value becomes a 0. Right? So my choices are 30 and 40. And you can have zeros after a decimal, but if you don't have any numbers past that, you can chop them off and just say 30 or 40. If this was $137.32, everything to the left stays the same. This would be 130 or 140. Everything to the left stays the same. Everything to the right turns into a 0. There's one exception. If you email me that exception, you're in my class, I'll give you an extra credit point. There's one exception. Sometimes something else is a little bit different. Anyway, what's that next step? Look at those eyes in the word look. Look which way they're looking. To the right. After you underline the place value, you look to the right. And see that little arrow, that little swoop with an arrow? I actually do that. I underline the place value. I underline the 3 because I'm going to the tens place, and that's 3 tens. And I look to the right. I draw a little arrow to the digit right to the right of what I underline. Now I'm going to do what? Well, what does that cryptic code mean? Check to see. I want to check to see. Get it, Joe? Check to see if that digit is a 5 or bigger. Yes, it is bigger. The place value now equals the place value plus 1. If it's not bigger, the place value equals the place value. It's going to stay the same, right? So that's a 7. Is that 5 or bigger? Yes. So it's bigger. That 7 becomes 7 plus 1, 8. I'm sorry. What did I do there? That 3 is the place I underlined. See, even Mr. Daniel makes mistakes after 24 years. That 3 becomes a 3 plus 1. That's 4. Everything to the right becomes a 0. Everything to the left stays the same. Since I already changed this to 137, we're going to change it to 140 now. Okay. Okay. Hopefully that's not too confusing. I'm doing separate videos this week for how to do the rounding and how to do the pizzazz. So you'll have to tune in for the other video if you want to find out how to do the pizzazz.